Well, XRP there's two ways about this. When you look at the research, it says that XRP is building a platform where CBDCs can be built upon as well, and it can bridge that with the traditional banking system. That's one way of looking at it. The other way, the way I always saw it when I first got into the space was that XRP was just going to be world money. And I always believed that XRP was world money in the making. And of course, if the price was set high enough, it could function like that as a universal single stable currency, a world reserve currency, in other words.
This is Versen Aldera, also known as Black Swan Capitalist, one of the greatest people within the XRP community, and here we discuss his take on the XRP value, on the global currencies of the world, XRP possibly becoming the next world currency, the New World Order, gold-backed XRP, and so much more. That said, don't forget to go ahead and subscribe to the channel with your post notifications on, as well as if you want to get more exclusive content, click the join button and become a member of the channel. All my social media links will be in the description, so make sure you guys go ahead and follow on there, and let's get right into the video. Alright guys, and welcome back to a brand new video on the Crypto Geek channel. Today we have an exclusive guest with us, Versen Aldera. I think this is, the third time that you've come on, but you always have some very interesting knowledge that you bring to the table, and this is why we love to have you on the show. So first off, I want to welcome you on, Versen. We have a lot of things to talk about, starting from, BlackRock, JP Morgan, all the crazy things that are going on. And then we're going to get into kind of like the new financial order and hear your take on basically everything. There's a lot to talk about, so we can get kind of right into it. If you want to begin by telling us an introduction and any key pointers of this last week that have happened.
Oh my God, man, there's so much information. Like we spoke briefly before we started. It's just a flood of information. There's so many factors at play all at once. And I think, there's a lot of reverse psychology going on as well. And I know that sounds a bit different to some, but we're just having to deal with so many economic situations, political, social. You know what I'm talking about. It's just a non-stream end of propaganda. And I think we have to be mindful of all of that. But right now, the biggest story, obviously, is in the Middle East. And that in itself is a smokescreen for some bigger things that are happening, even though there's a lot of fatalities and people getting hurt and having to live through all that and experience that. We can talk into that a little bit, but it really ties back to the financial system. Always does. And, the central banks' wars are the ones pushing all this war across overseas. And it's very sad how it works. And the more I look at this, the more I'm disgusted by how the economy is actually still holding itself together while all this is unfolding.
Mm-hmm. So obviously with all the wars, we're seeing the United States kind of announce that they're trying to print more money basically and send over, I think it was $100 billion. How's that going to impact the economy, and how's that going to impact cryptocurrencies and even, things like XRP?
Well, okay. So beneath everything that's going on in the world, and I'm not kidding about this, it's a liquidity crisis. Cash is disappearing at an accelerated rate. Money is moving out. And it really deserves more attention than it gets on mainstream news. And the fact also that the mainstream news can fool the masses by pushing further polarization, hatred, and division amongst people, they're able to mask the true intentions behind what's happening there. And it allows the population to be more divided. And that's what you see a lot on Twitter too, is many people are pushing the mainstream narrative with a twist. And this is basically helping policymakers and decision makers create a fabricated crisis, another one, so they can create new money, issue new debt. And why are they doing this? They're doing this because they need to sustain and prolong their power with the United States dollar in order to prop up the markets. And that's why we saw Bitcoin. That's why we saw the stock market. It went up the last few days, right? We saw this small bear market rally. And that's what it is. It is a bear market rally because we are insolvent. And I'm going to keep saying that we are absolutely insolvent. And what they're doing is just propping up everything to maintain the illusion of financial stability. And everything we just talked about is inflationary, by the way. So what's happening behind closed doors in this process while we're, yelling for a bull market, behind the closed doors, and I've been watching this very closely, they are quietly taking more control of regional banks. We're not hearing about the banks anymore. I spoke with one of the regional banks at our branch. I'm with a regional bank, IBC, and she was telling me that people are pulling out their money insanely, and many people are already delinquent. So what the big banks are doing is accumulating and acquiring the regional banks. They're acquiring valuable assets, all in preparation for something that I actually discovered is they are about to transfer all the risk onto the everyday consumer. And that's why I think this is a bear market rally. So I want people to be mindful while we're still looking and targeting this is a crypto channel. I get that. We're going to talk about the future of where money's going, but it's important to understand and be mindful of the cost at what's happening abroad. Basically, it breaks down to this. And basically, the American economy is being held together by war, which means that people have to die overseas so that we can print new money and maintain the illusion, again, of financial stability. So my advice as far as like that and inflation, what can you do to protect yourself? You have to consider adding physical gold, physical silver to your investment mix. Tangible assets will always hold their value and act as a safe haven during uncertain times. And that's what we live through. We live through constant, uncertain times, okay? Whether it's fabricated or not. So even if the price of gold went to zero, and I get this a lot, people are angry about the price of gold. If the price of gold even hit zero, I don't give a crap. I would still hold it because it is an ultimate currency. Just because some bankers who are corrupt are going to tell me this is what the price of gold is while they're still accumulating it. I mean, come on, guys. You know, it's not hard to put the pieces together.
Can we see the end of the US dollar?
Absolutely. And this is what they're doing. They have to maintain it and prolong it. And how do they do that? Crisis to crisis situation. They have to have reasons to issue new money. And that's even what happened with Maui. The Maui fires, no one even talks about it anymore. How come you don't hear anything about the Ukrainian war anymore? It's because they need the mainstream news to focus on the new narrative so they can keep issuing new debt. And that ties us in to a false flag happening here in the United States. And I'm not kidding about this. I've done my research. I've spoken to military people about this too. And they are telling us that the terror threat level is really high right now. They also put this on mainstream news that the terror alert was on high alert because of the open border policy. Yet we just started a new war overseas, and we don't think that's going to backfire from within. For all we know, this could be a controlled demolition of the United States from within. How do you destroy a country? You do it from within, because America has the Constitution, and we have the reign of the dollar still. So this would have to be an inside job. And I didn't mean to get off topic there, guys, but just so many questions arise when you start to look at things in a different perspective.
So you talked a bit about gold, and how it really doesn't matter whether, the bankers tell you it's $0 or $100. It is a currency of itself. Can we see kind of gold collaborate with crypto and get something that is gold backed or something of that sort?
Of course, absolutely. And that's really what tokenization is all about. And I love what Molly Elmore is doing and talking about the tokenization, because really that is the key to bridging everything. If you look at what's happening in the world of digital assets, the institutions are looking to bridge the traditional banking system, which means global wealth tokenization. So it's not an isolated event, basically. It's a broader shift towards tokenizing assets on the blockchain, which means everything from real estate to art, stocks, bonds, it will all be represented as tokens on a blockchain, even debt possibly.
Gotcha. Let's shift a bit towards BlackRock and JP Morgan, one of the, some of the biggest institutions, really. So recently I read, one of the reports that you sent or you tweeted about, and it was about them accumulating XRP. Tell us a bit more about that.
So this was just a report I read. Somebody sent it to me. A few minutes later after I tweeted it, I could not see the report. A few people did tell me that the report was there still. I found that very strange, but later on, about 10, 15 minutes later, I just clicked on the link again on the tweet I originally posted, and the report said it was taken down. Regardless whether the report is accurate or not, I see a lot of people say there are rumors, there are shills. Okay. The real shills are the ones fixated on Bitcoin. So let's clear the air there. But I will break it down, and you can't convince. I'm not trying to convince anybody. Okay, it's just incredibly naive to believe that giants like BlackRock and JP Morgan have not had any involvement in XRP and blockchain technologies, because these are financial powerhouses that, and by the way, they operate behind the scenes. So their true motives are rarely seen and revealed by anybody. So the mainstream's fixation on Bitcoin and Ethereum, in my opinion, that's the smokescreen. Those are the shills diverting attention from the fact that these behemoths of companies are likely going to be at the forefront of blockchain innovation, and they're going to harness the potential of technologies like XRP, basically based on what we just said, and we can go back to that in a second, to reshape the financial landscape. And in the world of high finance, and these are the top, secrecy and strategic moves are the name of the game. And the masses are typically unaware of anything playing on. They're usually unaware of the forces that are playing out behind the scenes. So we can break this down again, but why would JP Morgan and BlackRock be at the forefront of all of this? And it would be because of global wealth tokenization, interoperability, and speed, liquidity, and market stability. And there are only a few technologies that meet that criteria. That means they're going to incentivize long-term investment, security and network reliability, decentralization, the future of DeFi, global financial inclusion. I mean, we can go on, participation in governance. So I'm kind of done connecting the dots for people these days. I'm going to start just putting out information that they want to see, but you really don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure most of this stuff out.
And I will just add a pointer here to add on to you, because I've been connecting the dots as well. And, even on the back end of things, we're seeing collaborations between JP Morgan, BlackRock, and, even Ripple Labs in companies. So, for example, Ripple Labs joined the ISDA, International Settlement Derivatives Association. And who else is a part of that? BlackRock and JP Morgan. So there are there are dots that are being connected. And like you said, I think if you do some research, you'll be able to figure that out as well.
Exactly.
Let's talk a bit about the Black Swan event, or a Black Swan event. For all the people that don't know what a Black Swan event, can you kind of just give us a bit of a simplified explanation? And is it going to happen?
Absolutely. Our debt-based system relies on a Black Swan event to keep issuing new debt. The only thing holding the economy is the war right now. So yes, there's going to be another Black Swan event. In my opinion, I think it's going to require a major Black Swan event. So it'd have to be within the United States. Also, our military sources have told us that terror alert is on a very high level right now. And we could look back at the open border policy. We can get into all that politics if you want. But when you look at the open border policy and you see all the immigrants, you see crime coming out, or the migrants, to be politically correct, the migrants that are coming in here, and crime is on the rise. We don't have enough resources. When all else fails, they always take you to war. And we can look back at 2001. We can look at 2008. We invaded Afghanistan, I believe. So, history is just going to continue to repeat itself, but we need war in order to sustain this debt-based model. And I believe what they're doing again is creating another false flag event to be able to do something like what they did in 9/11 is the Patriot Act. So after 9/11, which many people believe today was really an inside job, we could look at the Patriot Act and what has that done for U.S. citizens? It's actually taken away more freedom. It's restricted more freedoms too, to other people around the world. So with a Black Swan event taking place in the U.S., like the pandemic was a Black Swan event, no one was expecting it. It just one day was announced. Something like that could happen inside the United States, which would give government so much more control and reason to take more freedom away, put new laws into place. That's really the end game here. Control.
Let's talk about CBDCs a bit, because obviously that has become a bigger topic as people start to try and shift away from traditional fiat money. Now,
Mhm.
CBDC, central bank digital currencies, where do we see this going? Are they going to start to track the retail? Because I see a lot of people that are scared. Or is it meant to track retail? Is it a benefit to the banks? Who wins and who loses kind of out of CBDCs?
Well, CBDC, central bank digital currency, other people say that is a behavioral disciplinary currency. This could go either way. And I wish more people in the Twitter community would not just keep retweeting about XRP and what it's doing, because I think that message is already clear. We need to start asking the right questions and get more attention to it. Like, for instance, if there is going to be a CBDC, central bank digital currency, or the citizen behavioral disciplinary currency, we need to ask the one fundamental question. If we're going digital, we need a digital constitution of human rights. That's something that could really contribute to all of this, because I don't know if it's going to be a totalitarian currency, because we hear a lot of other stuff being said on the other side. I think you know what I'm talking about, this alliance or whatnot. I'm not going to get into all that stuff because I don't see enough evidence for most of it, but we'll see. Now, if there is going to be a CBDC, and the International Monetary Fund has made it clear that they're working on a global CBDC. The Bank of International Settlements a few weeks ago said that we cannot have this fog over CBDCs. It won't be accepted. Basically, they want to push this further. So it may succeed in the short term, especially if there's a major black swan event on our financial system. I don't know how that's going to happen if they're continuing to issue new debt. So like I said, there's a lot of revolving doors, and this could go either way, but we certainly need a digital constitution of human rights if we're going to have digital money. And I think that's probably the most important thing that needs to be talked about. So there are a lot of Twitter guys out there and YouTubers who have massive influence. I'm a very small channel. If they could start putting that thought out there and let the people talk about this, about a digital constitution, maybe that could work. Maybe we could get some real action on it. I've sent a letter to my congressman before complaining about how our IRS was working. Didn't do any good, but you never know. I think we just need to ask the right questions and bring about solutions instead of just tweeting about XRP.
So, as XRP kind of comes into this topic, we talked about CBDCs a bit. Is it possible that XRP comes and takes, CBDCs start getting built on the XRP ledger, and XRP kind of takes the spotlight of being that intermediary with CBDCs, specifically as the last time that we mentioned, we're seeing Republic of Palau go ahead and build their CBDC on the XRP ledger. So is it possible XRP takes the spotlight?
Well, XRP, there's two ways about this. When you look at the research, it says that XRP is building a platform where CBDCs can be built upon as well, and it can bridge that with the traditional banking system. That's one way of looking at it. The other way, the way I always saw it when I first got into the space, was that XRP was just going to be world money. And I always believed that XRP was world money in the making. And of course, if the price was set high enough, it could function like that as a universal single stable currency, a world reserve currency, in other words. But then there are people who came out saying that there could be other currencies, and it gets very complicated. And then you start looking at stable coins, because if you're going to have currencies like that, you need stable coins. What is a stable coin? It's something that's pegged 1-to-1 ratio with fiat, but if fiat's going away, then it would have to be with precious metals, because what is a digital currency if it's not backed by anything? It's just another repackaged fiat currency. So it would have to be backed by something. Simon Hunt, who spoke at the Lisbon World Gold Council, he was on our show once. He told us that it would be backed by a basket of commodities. So many questions come in. How is this going to play? it's very possible too that if people don't get in on this, and this is like kind of what's her name, Leah Hepburn says from the Bitcoin. So she talks about it like this, that if you don't get into Bitcoin, you'll be stuck with a CBDC. If that analogy is correct, then it would be actually, if you don't get into XRP, you might be stuck with a CBDC because you did not make the investments into the infrastructure that's building the system. So again, it's very complicated, but at the end of the day, there's no doubt about it that all the institutions and the central banks and the central planners, they're paving a way where XRP is the primary focus. It is going to be the world's wealth, one store of value. And I don't believe, again, Bitcoin is the store of value. I think XRP is the store of value that can maintain the global wealth. And if it's backed by a basket of commodities and the price is set high enough, even with gold, that could hold this whole financial system together. It really could. It could prevent World War III too. Because if you look at what the US is doing with Jared Bernstein and Lael Bernard, those are the two top economic advisors for the Biden administration. They preach something called modern monetary theory, which essentially means throwing off the dollar's reserve status. That would have to be done from within. That's kind of what we talked about earlier, slow demolition of the country from within. If that's the case, and she is for modern monetary theory, which is central bank digital currencies, that's what she's pushing for. I mean, this could go either way. It really could. And there's a lot that I still don't know, that I really can't find answers to. But I see the macro picture that still XRP at the end of the day could be used, I think, in a good way or a bad way. And I know that sounds different, but again, Ripple is what's centralized when XRP itself is decentralized. So the question is, who's running Ripple? Who's running, who's going to be using this technology to better humanity or enslave it? And I think that's really what it comes down to. And also that's why it's important for the SEC to do its job, and the regulators need to act now, because inflation is getting so bad to where, people don't know what to do. And we need to understand where is the next store of value, where is the money going. And I think XRP just plays the key role in all of this. And we can talk about the tokenomics and all that good stuff, but there's enough evidence to say that XRP really is the king of money, and it will be. So I just believe that if we invest in the infrastructure, you won't be subject to whatever somebody else has to deal with. I don't know. We'll see.
Does the CBDC have to be a high value? So let's say, for example, if XRP becomes a CBDC, or Bitcoin becomes a CBDC, or RNT, or whatever crypto, do they require to be able to facilitate?
Okay, so I don't think XRP is going to be a CBDC. I don't think so. If that's what your question was earlier, XRP will not be a central bank digital currency. But if you do have CBDCs being built on the XRP ledger, then I guess XRP could be the one to facilitate liquidity and move money into these CBDCs where the money can be distributed. What is a CBDC? If it's, again, a citizen behavioral disciplinary control system, that's one thing. But a CBDC is essentially digital money. If you look at our accounts right now, 90% of the money is digital already. So for all we know, maybe we're already using a CBDC and we don't know it, because it's really just the underlying infrastructure behind it, So it's very interesting,
Let's talk a bit about adoption. So, we're seeing that shift away from traditional money. That is something that has become more clear. Now, we spoke about this a little bit, but are the big guys going to be done with traditional money and shift? Or is it going to be kind of like you said, interoperability, where they start to use a mix of both traditional and the new financial system?
It could be a very slow and gradual process, but if it's very possible. And I think that's why we need to understand what the hell's going on with the regulators, because there's enough evidence to support that they're stifling this innovation. But the question is why? What is their end game? What is the goal? Are they really trying to consolidate everything before switching on to this new system? And again, it's really a bridge. So it's going to be bridging whatever is in the traditional system into the new system. Will it be rapid, like instant? And that's, I believe, the Kendra Hill theory. It could be. It could be, but it would have to take some sort of massive black swan event, like a major financial crisis, a cyber attack on our financial systems, our infrastructure, something like that, which could trigger the switch to be very fast. And again, if you look around the world, you see that every big bank and institution, and you already know this, there is some relation to Ripple already with XRP, and that can tie us back to the big earlier questions a long time ago. People were asking about, is there a public ledger? Is there a private ledger? If there's a private ledger, they could be moving everything onto the new system while holding this system through war and whatnot, crisis to crisis, to maintain that illusion until everything is ready. Because if you look at what they're doing again in the traditional system, it seems like they're consolidating the wealth, acquiring the banks, acquiring everything they need to do, weaponizing the food industry, weaponizing pharmaceuticals, weaponizing water, etc., weaponizing money, inflation, debt, interest rates, so that they can consolidate the wealth. And if that private ledger is actually working and open and running right now, then the bridge could already have been there. And what they're doing again is just moving the assets for some sort of major black swan event where the switch could be instant. So again, looking at this on a macro picture, it's just, it requires a lot of thinking. And again, there's just so many damn pieces moving at once that it's hard to really make that final connection,
Mm-hmm. Is there a point that we can feel like, retail will be restricted from being able to partake in the new financial, system, whether it be from not allowing us to buy into, currencies, digital currencies, things like XRP, or is that just, been anything where anybody can kind of partake and participate in the new financial system and be a part of it?
I think actually that is happening. I think they're putting laws in place, and I'll send one to you after we're done here, but there was something I was reading that they were putting bills in place, big institutions. And again, they do this stuff very quietly until it's out in the open, and then it's kind of too late. But I think they're putting new legislation into place to get passed into law to where you, in certain institutions, can buy these assets. So I think they're already getting ready to do that. And that's why we keep telling people get in now. And for a while too, Rosie Rios, she said that the train left the station. I always think about, what does that mean exactly? Because if you look at the price of XRP a long time ago, remember when it was like 0.0 something?
Yes.
For all we know, maybe that is when the central banks were getting in and the big institutions, for all we know. Because some of these partnerships trace back to 2015, 2016. Ripple was founded in 2012. So a lot of development could have already taken place and we just don't know about it. So.
Gotcha. No, for sure. So I know we're getting close to the 30-minute mark and I don't want to take too much more of your time, but do you have any kind of, end remarks here that we can, that you want to put out there for the average kind of retail investor? Is there any way to kind of protect yourself as well from everything that's going around?
Yeah. So as an investor, smart money right now is moving into physical assets like gold and silver. I understand many people want to accumulate crypto. It's a great idea, but if you have to have your eggs in a few different baskets. So like me, I put my money in water, food, defense, crypto, cash. You have to have some cash because again, cash is going to be, people just need to be mindful that there are so many other damn things going on in the world that can affect you. The supply chain crisis is not finished. I believe that in 2024, we are going to start to see those food shortages I talked about a year ago. It takes time for all these things to kick in. So don't just have all your money in crypto. But yes, if you have crypto, you need to make sure that it's on a hardware wallet, a cold storage, Just do not keep it on the exchanges. I had a friend, he lost about $7,000 the other day from Coinbase. He was scammed. So just people need to be very careful. And I think their financial decisions right now are more important than ever because we're reaching that tipping point between where the middle class is no longer the middle class. And it's a significant amount of the population. So just people need to be careful what they're spending their money on, need to cook more at home. And that's why I tell people, don't worry about the price of XRP moving. This is a long-term commitment. It's money in the making. It's going to happen. It's just going to take time. Until then, people need to really focus on the inflation. You need to work harder in the real world and build more money. Or if you know how to trade, trade successfully. But just be careful because if you make a few mistakes and things go south, you really could screw yourself. I think just people need to be mindful and careful with their money right now more than ever.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Percent, for coming on. I really appreciate it. Again, every day that I come on and talk with you again, I always learn something new, and it's always a pleasure to speak with you as well. And of course, if anybody wants to go and check you out, I know you have a YouTube channel. I think it's Black Swan Capitalist, and your Twitter, or formerly Twitter, X now is also at Black Swan Capitalist as well. So really appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we can keep in touch, and we'll try and do these regularly and give you guys an update on exactly what is going on with the financial market. So again, thank you so much, Rasen, and
Thanks.
I'll speak with you again soon.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure. You could